What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. My name is Kyle Smith, and right now, maybe later we'll have three, but I'm joined by the one and only Adam Carlson. How are you, sir?
Having some headset troubles, so we're trying something a little different today. Hopefully it doesn't sound too weird.
No weirder than just you or I having the conversations we always have, you know?
Okay. Sounds good.
Welcome in, everybody. Yeah, the Vikings played a football game yesterday, and it did not go as we had all hoped as Vikings fans. But now that the dust has settled, I can say that, number one, I'm glad that none of you that watch this show can see the awful things that I say between myself and Adam Carlson and Kyle West, because I am still way too invested. I thought I had been neutral, and I found out yesterday that is not the case. And I'll tell you why my heated brain went there. I fully believe that this team could have won this game yesterday. I think they should have won this game yesterday. It sucks because there's a division rival who's clearly drafted a little better than we have, and they've been a joke for so long that now that they're actually very, very good, it's disheartening because, you know, the Lions were the Lions, like the Browns used to be the Browns. But I say all that in respect to Dan Campbell and Jared Goff and Jahmyr Gibbs and that great offensive line, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and all the defensive guys that I didn't name on, Brian Branch. What a damn good football team they are. They are very good. They definitely zigged when we zagged yesterday in certain spots. I cannot believe they scored 4 consecutive drives and 21 points in one quarter. But then again, I kind of can. What do you feel after that game yesterday? Adam, you were more level-headed than I, but I don't think the Vikings are world – like last season, maybe you agree. Last season we could tell with the Kirk injury and Jefferson was down, like, yeah, this team's clearly better than the Vikings. Right. I think these teams are very well matched. I think that one does better than the other in certain areas and vice versa. I think the division comes down to Week 18 in Detroit. What are your thoughts?
It doesn't surprise me one bit that this game came down to the last minute. I mean, these two teams, they just fight each other so well and know each other so well. And what was weird is that you got, like, Lions fans, oh, you know, we beat you guys without, you know, we didn't even have our best defensive player. It's like, well, it's not like Minnesota was at full strength either. So, I mean, what do you want to talk about there?
Yeah.
But still, I mean, this rematch between when these guys happens, you know, later this season is going to be fantastic. I can't wait for that. But yeah, I came into this game expecting it to be a really hard fight, especially with how Detroit is so explosive offensively, and their defense. You know, you got to give them credit. Even without Aiden Hutchinson, they are a spectacular unit. Their secondary is picking people off and making great plays all season long, and you know, they're coming off that big humiliation of Dallas, you know, and we can say one thing, Minnesota ain't Dallas.
I think that the way that the 49ers were built, and I'm just using this as recent memory, they were so well constructed everywhere, and I think that the aging process and a little bit of frustration of Ayuk holding out, Debo has continually got something going on. Now, the worst case scenario for them is Christian McCaffrey's not played for almost half the season. I think Detroit
is Ayuk for the season too.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah. That's not good. They're reeling right now, and these are the current, or you know, the last year's representative of the NFC. I think the Lions have a similar grittiness and toughness to them, and along with the coach, like Dan Campbell doesn't get enough credit, man. He sets a really good culture, much like Brian Flores staying in Minnesota has shaped the defense to be so good. Ben Johnson staying in Detroit yet again. Sometimes that'll bite you in the butt where the guy hung around too long. Now it's predictable. They're doing great stuff, and Jared Goff. I think Rich Eisen said it today, and I kind of agree with him. Through Week 7 and what he's done consecutively in 3 games in a row, and they're 5-1, and they're doing all these things. I think Jared Goff now, in one swing of a weekend, is the front runner for the MVP. If he's not a top 3 right now.
The Lions are so good in the trenches. The way they built up that offensive line and the way that defensive line is so stout. I mean, they are going to be contenders no matter who they play, as long as they can keep that up. And if Jared Goff can keep throwing as accurately as he is and completing passes and not making a lot of mistakes, that team is going to be insanely tough to beat.
Right. And it's weird that they already had a loss on the season. I don't like the Vikings losing at home. Just having random conversations in football with myself yesterday. I packed up. By the way, pause that story for a second. If you guys don't think I love you for this show, not you, Adam. You guys know that I love you.
Wait a minute. What? Why not me?
No, you know I love you. I'm talking. Watch the show. I packed my freaking desktop Mac and my interface and my microphone power source and my very expensive microphone to do this podcast when I could have just mailed it in this week. But even after a loss, I wanted to tell you guys I care about you and I want to do this show. I was so pissed about this game yesterday. So many penalties. I tweeted it, within the first 10 minutes of the game, there was already 6 penalties. And I don't know what it is the last couple of weeks. These refs are just maybe the football is that sloppy, but man, it feels like they're just like trigger happy on these flags.
Did you see that report that the Vikings actually were considering trying that, 67-yard field goal?
I mean, why not? Nothing. Back in the day, like early 2000s, we would think that like a 48-yard field goal was like from the moon. Remember that feeling?
Oh, yeah.
And now that's like if you miss a 48-yarder, people will look at you like, why? And I just kind of assume that it's automatic if it's 50 yards or less. And
was the turning point in this game when Sam Darnold made that pass that he could have had a wide open running back on one side and he threw it into a coverage and didn't see a defender on the other side? Was that the turning point?
It might have been. I don't care about these games where, it's back and forth. That's fine. But I can't really – I think you might be right, Adam, to answer your question. I just don't understand on the most important drive of the game. You had the lead. Yeah, you went for 2 because you wanted to be up by a field goal. I understand that. I'm fine with it. You still walked away at that moment with more points than the other team. But on the most important drive of the game, it just looked like Detroit walked down and did whatever they wanted. And
also, Minnesota has been in this weird trend of when they get an early lead, they want to sit on it a little too long, run the ball, eat the clock, and not play their usual offense. I mean, keep playing what got you where you are. I get you want to drain the clock, but running the ball up the gut when it's, what is expected of you is not the best way to keep a drive alive, eat the clock, and go home a winner,
Right. They've got to be more consistent offensively. They started out hot this year in every game. They've started great, and then there's a lull coming into the second or third quarter, and then they find a rhythm at the end. I'd like to see more consistency in at least 3 quarters of the game. Take the second quarter off if you want, but give me 3 out of the 4, and you'll be pretty good. There's a big lull that happens after they get a couple points, and they've got to continue to keep the foot on the gas, keep the consistency going. I like the fact that they signed Cam Akers this past week, which we didn't talk about. It happened like the day after last week's episode. I like that move in preparation of Aaron Jones getting hurt again. I think that was very smart. They gave up like a 6th, so I'm not worried about it.
It was huge that Aaron Jones could play. Him being in that game was a big difference.
He was, and I'll say, and we'll get into game balls and donkeys, he was the highest graded offensive player yesterday. And I want to give him my game ball, but I'm going the opposite direction on defense because Jonathan Grenard can't be left out of this conversation. He was on fire yesterday.
When I meant my winners and losers articles, I actually had so many winners that I didn't know like who to leave out, and he was one I had to leave out, and he had a fantastic game. He was getting pressure from everywhere.
His score from PFF was in the 90s yesterday. I mean, he was relentless. And that's with Ivan Pace scooping up and returning a touchdown. That's with Van Ginkel getting in. Harrison Phillips was getting flags for him all day because he was getting pressure. All of these guys on the front 7 were great yesterday, and it sucks because I was glad to see Aaron Jones come back. I really hope he stays healthy for the entire season because he's such a difference maker. But Jonathan Grenard, you're not getting denied, man. I saw you yesterday, and I kept saying out loud, good God, he's having himself a game. And
is it weird that we're both picking game balls for players on a defense that gave up 31 points?
That is weird.
Because I absolutely love Ivan Pace, and I know he was put in a situation where he had to play aside from somebody who wasn't Blake Cashman next to him.
Right.
And when Blake Cashman comes back, I think they'll be an even better unit. But, Ivan Pace, for being that undrafted surprise player, he isn't a player now that people are going to look at and be like, oh, well, he was just an undrafted player playing well. He is a darn good football player, and that's what he's going to be going forward, not this diamond in the rough player anymore. He is a great defensive player.
I think that the Ivan Paces and the Adam Thielens and the John Randalls, not that they're all Vikings players, see what I did there, but all these undrafted players proves to you that the scouting process. There you go. Let's keep going. Let's keep it going with all these crazy good Vikings that were overlooked. Other teams, obviously, I can't think of any at the top of my head, but you're talking about. It really shows that there is inconsistency in scouting even to this day, because he came out of Cincinnati and he was very highly touted, but 200 and whatever, 22, whatever the picks are for all the draft picks,
right?
All these chances, and no team, including the Vikings, take him. You get him as the best of the available options. There's always a list hey, all these guys have been undrafted, but they're still good players. How crazy is it, especially that fast? Think about Adam Thielen for a second, John Randall. They had to work 2 or 3 years to get to the starting lineup, and then they made their impact. Ivan Pace is in year 2 or 3, and he's already especially in Vikings land, he's already a very well-known Vikings player, and he made an impact yesterday. And you could tell, we missed Blake Cashman yesterday. I think his presence was definitely felt from not being there, his absence. But
yeah, especially in the middle and run support.
It sucks when a player like that is out, because he's one of our great free agent acquisitions. But having Ivan Pace back, I've been waiting on him to come back. And he immediately came back in and made his presence felt. Now, he didn't have the best grade yesterday, but that's fine. He had a big play, and he put points on the board. That's all that matters. Because I really thought he stepped out of bounds, or there was going to be a flag against us, and I was so happy that stood, because.
And Pace also led the team in tackles, which was nice.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't. See, I
do want to give a mini game ball though, because I saw that for this game, for the first time, Bo Richter was activated and put in the game, and he got in the game, and he made a great play on a run play on third down that caused a punt, and I was so excited for that young man.
I'm happy for him. I'm happy that the Vikings kept him around and didn't let him get sneaking away, stolen away. That's sneaky. And Grugier Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't have the best game yesterday either, but I'm glad that these guys, I've said this before, the way that my brain sees it is there is a currency for all the starters, and they obviously mean more than 2, 3, 4, and the currency gets smaller. But I think the Vikings are finally building depth at every position, where that person that you pick as your tight end 4 or your linebacker 2 or whatever, they do what they're supposed to do at the value that they're held, and you're not getting cheated out of the value for that person, and they really contribute. So I really do appreciate these guys that are probably not known by the national fan base.
And then you got the other guys, we know how good Justin Jefferson is. He's so good. And Jordan Addison had a kind of quiet game, but he was still quite good. Aaron Jones was a difference maker. I mean, there were a lot of players that had really good games that Will Reichert could get a game ball and it'd be easy.
Yeah. Sam Darnold could get a game ball. He started, I think he had 3 completions in the first half. He had a pick, but he definitely had, I think he was almost 100% in the second half. And he uses legs. That's the thing.
Just a kick this season.
Well, yeah. God, he's so good.
And I thought for sure that was going to be a miss after the announcer said that.
Yeah,
I was not really that familiar with Adam Amin. Did you know him as an announcer before this?
I've heard the name, but I can't say that I'm familiar, if that makes sense.
I know he's done Olympics and basketball and other things like that, but he's rather I say kind of new, but he's been doing it for 4 years. But maybe he just hasn't been assigned a lot of Vikings games. I don't know.
Yeah, it was him and your favorite, Greg Olsen. So that's cool.
I wasn't even going to mention him, but I did get Pam. Everybody loves Pam.
I like Pam. She's great. I'm glad she didn't get hit in the head with a football yesterday. That's her career highlight so far.
You mean a basketball?
Was that a basketball?
No. The reason why I joked the head referee for this game was the one that accidentally called it a basketball instead of a football during a call.
I was I could have swore there was a Larry Fitzgerald play or something like that where she got pegged, and then you're the referee called a football basketball. Yeah, what a weird year. God. What a weird year. I can't hold it back.
I do that article about who are the refs and the announcers, and I try to include a little fact about each of them, and I couldn't not include that basketball thing in there. No way.
I can't hold this comment back any further. Yeah, I'm with you, Fire Breather. Ed Ingram is my donkey. He's the lowest graded offensive player. You have a backup that played pretty well last year, and he's ready to go. Put Reisner in. I think the Ed Ingram experiment is probably going to stop after this year. They've got to see that you can do better at that position.
Which left guard are you moving to right guard?
I put Reisner in. Sure.
At
Why not?
what? Left? At right?
Why not?
Because he might not be good at it.
Neither is Ed Ingram. He's not good. He's the weak link on this offensive line. And to be fair, I want to make a point because I meant to say it earlier, but I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. So don't think that I'm shifting this conversation to talk about this point that the national media will eventually do at the end of the season. But you saw yesterday the difference between Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold. I don't know many throws Kirk makes that are like 50 plus yards. Sam's done that 4 or 5 times this year. So I'll give him a little bit better of the arm strength, and the athletic ability is clearly different. Sam will take off and run, and I don't feel bad about it. Now, I think he probably thinks he's a little more athletic than he is because he does get chased down a bit. But
when
he
you
is
watch this game, did you see Sam Darnold when he was about to get hit? He was thinking about like flinging it, and he stopped.
Yeah.
And I saw that progression. I was like, if that was Sam Darnold 2-3 years ago, he would have thrown that as hard as he could.
Yes, and I'm glad that he did.
And went down with it, and I thought that is great. My nephew was like, why didn't he try to get rid of it? I'm like, he did in the past, and it was not good.
I'd rather you live to play another down or punt than to just give the ball away. Like, just giving the ball away is kind of the whole thing that you shouldn't do. And I'm glad that he's refraining from that this year. Jake, I agree with you. Jake says it sucks about the result, but the team still feels special. They do feel special, man. I walk away after the dust settles and I stop being stupid emotional about it. And I'm kind of proud of the team for the fight. They did not get dog walked like the Cowboys. And I truly believe in my heart of hearts, they should have won this game. They should have. But what it does, it sets up a quick Thursday night game in LA. I do believe they can beat the Rams. I hope they do. They've been flexed, which we have a comment here, next Sunday night against the Colts, which is cool. They'll be the Sunday night game on NBC. But they have a nice stretch of winnable games. And if they maintain and just keep winning, they'll be right along pace with the Lions.
Back-to-back primetime games.
Wow. Ooh, scary. That's definitely Halloween for you.
But
for
when we're talking Minnesota sports and should have won that game, boy, the Lynx got hosed last night.
You know, I heard about it, but I don't know the context.
There was a travel and then a foul called, and there was no foul, yet they reviewed it and they called it as a foul, and the Lynx should have been champions based on that. Not the game shouldn't have gone to overtime, but you know what can you do? That's Minnesota sports for you, right?
Seems to be something in the air all the time. I keep getting distracted. I have AMC on. I wanted to light up the hotel room with every light that they have, and I turned the TV on, and AMC is on. They had the very first Friday the 13th, and now they're in the boiler room, and they're playing Nightmare on Elm Street one, and I'm trying not to get distracted because I haven't watched any horror in October yet. I take that back. I watched Scream, but yeah.
I've been watching too much, probably. I'm going through everything.
We're gonna review one tomorrow because we gotta get back on the horror movie review train. Was the Colts game flaked? I never heard. Yes, it was. It's been confirmed on Twitter. So 7:20 Central, 8:20 Eastern next Sunday.
Now I'm gonna give my donkey to a really good player that just had a couple miscues and mistakes that hurt the team, and I absolutely love Stephon Gilmore. I do. But when he lost his footing and that resulted in a touchdown, and then he was out of position a couple of times, I mean, he is one of the best defensive players or secondary players against the run at the moment. So in run support, he's really good. But this game was not his best, and I feel like, you know, with how good Goff and the Lions' offense is, you can't be making those kind of mistakes.
Dude, the corners looked pretty bad yesterday. I saw one play where Byron Murphy, I mean, literally one Mississippi before the snap, is completely turned around asking one of the other safeties or corners, like, what's going on? Because he doesn't know. And I'm like, you're already so far behind the 8 ball. Even if you turn around and the ball gets snapped, you know, you have to be focused to say, all right, at a split second, I'm watching 2 or 3 things. Based on what happens, I go here and I go there. If you're turned around asking your teammate, I was pissed at that play. I was like, we're going to get burned with this because I would attack you if I see you turned around right here. Right. And I don't play quarterback, but I'm seeing it here and I'm like, okay, Goff can't look at every defender the whole time. So I wonder where he's looking. But I did see a little bit of confusion. I did hear, and I don't remember which player said it in one of the interviews, because a lot of Vikings players like Cashman, Ivan Pace, Jonathan Gennard, Harrison Phillips, they were all on the Chris Long podcast and a couple other places. They're talking about how Brian Flores will send out the call like seconds before the snap goes. And I didn't understand why, and that's some more nuance that I want to learn about football. But there's a lot of wrinkles and layers that this particular defense has. So saw that yesterday. I was a little worried, and I'm picking on Byron Murphy, but I totally agree with your donkey, man. I said at one point in the game, I was like, where's Gilmore? And then right after was a big chunk play, and I was like, oh, there he is. Shit. So
do you understand what happened on that last play of the second to the last play of the game when they tried spiking the ball and there was no runoff?
Yes, what they explained was even though it was an illegal formation, they still formed up, so that's what saved them.
So was the penalty called after the spike? Is that why it was like a dead ball?
I think maybe, and then they were like, "Oh no, never mind." It was really weird because Detroit was walking out. They were like, "The game's over."
I thought it was over,
and I thought it was going to be a runoff because of that, but I don't know. It really, you know what? I wish that it would have ended that way instead, because the Lions getting to them, only rushing 3 and overloading one side was embarrassing. At least like when he set up to do that last Hail Mary, I was like, well, I know he can throw the ball 60 yards. I've seen it twice this year from the end zone, you know, like this is cool. Didn't even get the chance. So sucks, but I mean, it came down to that. That's how close these teams are. And like I said earlier at the beginning, all the credit to Detroit. I'm glad their fans aren't shitty. Like some fans are really annoying.
Aren't? You don't live in Michigan, I guess.
No, I haven't seen too much online where people are just like, F this, F that. Like they're, you know, I'm okay with you bragging and being like, we beat y'all. Like, yeah, be happy your team won. But just, I don't see a lot of the like, just blatant, like disrespectful, like just unnecessary stuff from Lions fans, because they've endured.
Yeah, you and I must be on different sides of social media because we are not.
We must be. Thing. I'm glad I haven't seen that yet. This is only my third ever Vikings game since I live in Southern Cal. Oh, Sergio, you were at the game. Tell us about it, man. It looked nuts in there. I'm sure it was loud. Kathy, what's going on? Fire Breather wants to give a game ball. Stone Cold Killer, Will the Thrill. Looks like Paperman from iCarly.
I hate making changes at kicker, but so far I can't complain one bit.
West is out shooting content. He is getting his fall pictures in his little town in Iowa. He said he was going to go exploring, and I'm sure he's going to get some good shots out in nature and some of that rustic stuff. If you've seen his website, and I'll put it up here now, which we never.
I love when they open up that wall of the stadium and that air keeps circulating in there. That is so nice. It feels like you're outside, but you are inside, and it is great.
That's where Wes is. Wes is doing Wes things with his camera. You can check out some of his work here. I've listed it on everyone watching on YouTube. Why can't the Vikings ever get a Hail Mary? You know, I don't ever want it to come down to that. Even Aaron Rodgers, who has more of them in recent history, he only gets like one every 4 years. So maybe make it to where we don't have to do that. Maybe send the kicker out for a 60-yarder. That'd be cool. But you got to not get a penalty before that, you know?
Right.
Celebrating the Hawkinson injury. Yeah, I saw that last year. I don't appreciate that part.
I don't celebrate almost any injury. I mean, I've been making a minor exception for Watson, but otherwise, who knows?
You know, I will say I don't think this is shitty of me to say. I'll just keep it 100. I didn't praise Aiden Hutchinson getting injured because I've seen a bunch of my favorite players get hurt, and it sucks. I did say
having an amazing season before that. I mean, he was up there. He probably might have been Defensive Player of the Year.
100% agree with you. Just a wrecking ball, and he's one of the guys you have to account for, or your game's going to get ruined. But I'm not going to lie to you. I did say, what impeccable timing, because you play the Vikings next week, so I know he's not playing. I did say that, but I'm not like, yeah, I'm super glad he's hurt. Like, you don't want to see like that's scary. That's like that Nick Chubb injury where you're like, screw football. Are you going to be able to walk the same? Because your leg just kind of like flayed around. And I was like, I was baffled how it even happened, but that's how violently he's running after people and slamming his body and stuff. So Aiden Hutchinson, from Vikings fans, we appreciate your game. We hate that you're in the division, but please get better. We're not terrible people like that. We would never say that. Stadium was open. Adam was mentioning, you said that. That's really cool. I was there last year and they had agreed to open it for the first quarter, first half of the Chiefs game, and it was nice because it was perfect. It's the first week of October. It was perfect weather. Here, awesome, love his work. Wes has a really good eye. Hopefully, he can share some of that stuff, and I'll try to talk him into it. We always say we're going to. Maybe we can share some of his work one of these days at the end of the show, just to show you guys.
Thursday, I was talking about the refs, and there was only one call where it wasn't like super obvious. The one where Jordan Addison was called for lining up in the neutral zone. I didn't think he was that far into the neutral zone. I don't think that should have really been flagged because I didn't feel it was obviously in the neutral zone.
I think that's one of those flags that needs to go away, period. If you're going to look at the ref and they tell you you're set, they shouldn't call it after and be like, just kidding. If you get confirmation, that should never be a flag. And that to me is one of the archaic, ancient things the NFL's got to fix. It's still one of the things, like, you can agree or disagree on the kickoff. I thought the kickoff would be wonderful and there'd be a lot of action. And every team just got together secretly before week one and were like, everybody just kick it back. We're going to take it at the 30. Like, that's all that they're not even trying. And it's annoying as hell. Like, college isn't even doing this. And I hate it. They're going to hide behind it's for player safety. Bullshit. You don't care about the players' safety. You don't care about you say you do, and you try to put a front that you do. You don't care about player safety. I don't want to hear that. Bring back the action, because guys like Cordero Patterson, who are one return away from beating Devin Hester all time, now you completely changed the game on them from 10 years ago when he was in the league. I don't like it. I'm complaining. I'm being a boomer. Sorry.
But while we're talking about donkeys, I'm going to give an honorable donkey to Ty Chandler, who probably thought he was going to have a much bigger role in this game if Aaron Jones couldn't play. And, ever since the Vikings traded for another running back, but he was completely ineffective as a running back, did not get involved at all. As a receiver and as a blocker, he had a really rough game.
Yeah, I'm looking here. Ty Chandler, 2 for 4, long of 3. So one of those was 1 yard. Not good. Not a good day.
Not a good day for him, which is probably why Minnesota made it a point to go out and grab a little bit more depth. I don't know if they're trying to replace him on the depth chart or bring in competition for him or what, but whatever it is, they got to do what they got to do to get that room okay, because if something happens again to Jones, I don't know if Minnesota can rely on Chandler.
I don't think you can. I said it in the beginning, and go figure, Jacksonville is on a 2-game win streak now. I should think they should have called and asked about like a Travis Etienne. He doesn't have to come in and, like, you're not expecting him to be Adrian Peterson. You're not expecting him to, who's a great back in Kansas City that's out, Pacheco. You're not expecting him to be that, but he'll give you a starting caliber quarterback, and they can rotate between him and Jones. Like, you could say, hey, for this series, Jones, we're going to run these plays. Travis, you do this. But I think that would have been something great. Vikings Twitter is clamoring for us to trade for Dexter Lawrence for some stupid reason. Guys, it's not happening. It's not good. You'd have to give up your first-round pick next year, and then you would be left with the conditional third we might get, and then 2 fifth rounds. That's not how you build your franchise. It's not. And yeah, I think they are 2 players away from being like the best team in the league, but you have to be certain. And I just don't know if I want to give away a first-round pick for that. Now, if you were able to talk a team into a 2026, I might be on board with that, but we don't have enough assets to trade away next year, even though Dexter Lawrence he's the man, and I like him a lot. No.
Right.
I don't think, and I'm usually the guy that's like crazy trade, whatever, like go do it. No, I'm being a little more reasonable now, but I didn't want to mention this. This has been something that's been floating around, Adam, that I thought was interesting. Sports media, the national media, and a lot of Twitter are saying that the Lions should go after Max Crosby. I hope they don't, because he's phenomenal, but they're in a really interesting position. I think Colin Cowherd said it the other day, so I'll give him the credit for it, but he's saying this team in Detroit is so good everywhere. You could not have a first-round pick next year. Your first-round pick will be Max Crosby next year. Imagine Hutchinson comes back healthy for week 1, and you have him on one side and Max Crosby on the other. Good luck. And I was thinking about it. I was like, I really hope they don't call. I don't think the Raiders will get rid of their one guy who, like, lives and breathes and embodies Las Vegas. Like, he is a Raider. I don't think they'll get rid of him because they already got rid of Devontae, but I heard that the other day. I was like, no, don't do that. Please don't. They proved that they can win without him yesterday, even though it was close. So,
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't know what teams are going to be the biggest sellers at the moment. And I don't see heading into a trade deadline Minnesota selling anybody.
Well, to not talk about Minnesota for just a second, my point was going to be that these winning teams will go after big players to try to go all in, like Dallas, go all in and not get anyone. But Detroit has been linked on social media to like, hey, maybe they could go get Max Crosby, whatever. The Vikings have been linked on Twitter to maybe a Dexter Lawrence or the other
Matthew
guy
Stafford.
Yeah, Mike Florio saying the wildest stuff. Who's the other guy? Leonard from the Jets, defensive lineman.
Floyd?
William?
No.
No.
Wilkins?
Williams. Leonard Williams. Is that him? I forget his name. He's the younger D lineman from Alabama. He's really hilarious in the interviews. Yeah. They're saying, hey, go get him as a backup. Saw that today. Okay, possibly. I can't believe that a team that is so bad and their record is so bad went out and traded for a star player, even though he's past his prime. I can't believe the Jets went and got Devontae Adams, and they still look like shit last night. They look terrible. They were winning.
Quinn and Williams.
Leonard Williams. There we go. They were winning 15-3, and they lost like 30-something to 15. Like, that's one of the things I can't understand. I could see teams that are 500 or slightly above 500 like, hey, we need a piece, man, so we can really catapult ourselves. I can't believe the Jets went and did that. And I don't even know if Aaron Rodgers is going to play again next year.
Right.
It's weird, man. I just wanted to poo-poo on the Jets again. They're such a dumpster fire.
I'm still a little surprised that Kansas City wasn't in the receiver market yet. I'm sure they will be.
It's unfair.
Because they could technically, go and try to grab, one of those like Panthers receivers that is not getting any attention down there or something like that. I mean, they've got options out there. I'm sure Carolina would give up Adam Thielen for a little pick, and Thielen could help out, Mahomes in a huge way.
That would break my heart to see him catching passes from Patrick Mahomes. Oh, that would kill me inside. I'd be happy for him as a fan, but as a fan of the team, of our team, that would break my heart. Quentin Williams, damn it. That's it. Yeah, he's the guy who sneezed and said, bless you, and then said, thank you. He said all three. He's a damn good football player, though. Zimmer's Cowboys defense have given up 167 points in the last 4 home games, most by teams since the 1972 Oilers. Yeah, I think all of our opinions changed on Zimmer after he decided to unnecessarily crap on everyone in that interview this year. I don't wish him any ill will. Dude lost his son, his wife, almost an eye. He might be a dick, but he's still a human. But I'll tell you what, for him to say in that interview, I just want to prove that I can still coach. Brother, this ain't it. And you ain't going to get a job after this year. That team sucks. And the context and the variable and the caveat here is Jerry Jones didn't do him any favors. Like, they didn't do anything outside of drafting players. They didn't add anyone. So now that everyone's hurt, it's like.
And Jerry Jones has been ultra defensive about that too, which is wild.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
Own up a little bit of responsibility for the decisions you've been making. But yeah, Mike Zimmer and his philosophy is so old school that if you don't make adjustments and try to change a little with the times, you are going to get left behind. And especially this season, things feel so different in the NFL. Like, I felt like last season throwing for 300 yards was normal for a quarterback, and now
it's a throwback.
Something is about that.
The defenses are wicked, athletic. The run game is prevalent again, and it really is a throwback year. Like they did it last year. The Chiefs won and relied on their defense as like the stalwart of the team. Like, hey, this is how we win games. They're fully embracing that this year, and like Mahomes just says, hey, when you need me to be Superman, I'll be Superman. They go out and get pieces, and you're like, well, here it goes. Here goes the three-peat. The pieces get hurt, and you're like, oh, shit, they're vulnerable now. And then, no, they're still really good. They still have Mahomes and Andy Reid. Like, good luck. And Chris Jones. Can't say enough about Chris Jones. Yeah, that's funny you mentioned they might be in the race for a wide receiver at the end. Like, they'll get some B- guy, and he'll be a superstar for him. But, yeah, anyways, back to this. Jets can have all these players. Wes says there's no cohesion. Yeah, they don't have a leader on the team. They've assembled an all-star of a 2020 team in 2024, like all these players that were good 4 years ago. and they just don't have a leader and a coach that can assemble. They're just like, they look to me almost like they're guessing out there. Like Aaron's like, all right, I like this. Let's try this. It's like the ghost of Russell Wilson lit you up last night. At one point, Adam message in the game, he's like, Russell Wilson's not good. I turned the game on and I was like, which guy was he watching? What quarter? Because
I know as soon as I send that, he turns it up.
Dude, he was tearing it up when I tuned in, and I was like, is he back? Oh, no. First it was Broncos country. Let's ride. And I'm like, what does he say for the Steelers? Let's steal? Are we going to steal things? Like, what do you say? Like, what do you say in that corny thing? But he's going to be back saying these goofy things because.
What is he again? Mr. What? Unlimited?
Oh, God, I hope not. He's so corny. My goodness. But he was having fun. I did see him go over after he threw a touchdown and immediately was like having a blast with Van Jefferson. That was cool. They were having a moment, and you could see him like, oh, there's the human side of you. I wish you had showed everyone else.
So do you and I kind of feel bad for Justin Fields now, or how does that work?
No, be more accurate and you'll be the starter. That's what I've been yelling for 4 years. I wanted him out of Ohio State because I saw the big body athletic guy, and then I realized 2 years in, he can't throw the football to his receivers. That's kind of what you need to do. No, I don't. Justin Fields isn't accurate. He's a great backup, but very limited ceiling. I whatever. You're getting beat by old Russell Wilson, dude. Sucks. I feel bad for the Steelers players because I heard through many media outlets that the locker room of the Pittsburgh loves Justin Fields, but he kind of got to roll with the cornball if he knows how to run the offense better.
Right.
Whatever. Actually, they don't, Sergio. They have a worse record. I saw it yesterday or today. Same record in 2024 with Rodgers as they did in 2023. Actually, they're a win less right now. So technically, Zach Wilson is better than Aaron Rodgers. By week 7, okay, there it is. Oh, God, it's so funny. I love watching them not succeed. Like, I like Aaron Rodgers. I like not saying that I agree with everything he says. I like that he's a personality and he'll be honest because you just don't see that. Everything is so scripted. Like, he was shitting on the media last night, and I was like, this is entertaining as a fan. Whether or not he's correct, it is fun to listen to. But, man, is it fun. After all the years he tore up this division and this team, and he was like guaranteed playoffs, NFC championships. Now, to watch him be mortal, I feel bad for him, but, man, it's funny to watch. It's hilarious.
And I was kind of thinking, okay, well, Green Bay's getting another test this week, too. It was Houston, but they put Houston away, and then Chicago, were they on who did they play this week? I don't even remember.
Did they play? No, that was the Patriots. I think they were on a bye this week.
Yeah, because I don't remember them playing. But, the whole division has such good records, and I know this is going to shake out to be one of the toughest divisions in football, and who knows, maybe the top seed in the NFC will come from the NFC North, but I don't know if it'll be the Minnesota Vikings, but at least the next stretch of games looks kind of winnable.
Wes, we mentioned this earlier. I said it personally. Rich Eisen was saying it today, so I have to give him the credit. But, yeah, I think Goff's the MVP after yesterday. It's 3 games in a row where his completion percentage is so high. It looks like he's just playing college ball out there.
Unless he was Tim Boyle, then he's not playing those games.
He's no Matt Flynn, I'll tell you that. Yeah, after yesterday.
So dude, look up Tim Boyle's college stats because I don't know how he got in the NFL.
I'm looking him up now. We're going to bring him. Tim Boyle, college stats from sportsreference.com. This is wonderful.
It's pretty wild.
He played at Connecticut. That's not good when you're a football player at a basketball school. That's never a good thing. Connecticut. Holy crap. 621 yards, no touchdowns in 2013. 1 touchdown in 2014, 335 yards. No touchdowns in.
And how many interceptions?
No touchdowns in 2015 is last year, and then 2 picks. Overall career 2013, 14, and 15 in Connecticut. 1 touchdown, 13 interceptions.
How is he a pro?
You know what's sad too, Adam? That guy would still blow us out of the water in any attempt.
No questions asked.
And he was very bad at what he did. Oh man, I agree with you, Wes. That was the point I was trying to make. Aaron Rodgers is the head coach for the New York Packers. Yeah, Devontae will have a little rust. I think he's still a good player. I think his best years are a little behind him. It's a comfort thing. And had they had this last year, if Rodgers had stayed healthy and they had Devontae last year, you have Wilson, Devontae. You have shout out to Tyler Conklin. He's still there. Breece Hall is their best player outside of a Sauce Gardner or Quentin Williams. Breece Hall is amazing, and they just don't use him right.
That's crazy considering they have, a potential, or not potential, but he will be a Hall of Famer at quarterback.
Right. I just think that offense runs through Breece Hall, and he looked so good at flashes last night when he was used correctly. We're talking about the Jets a lot today, but man, they are they're so discombobulated, and I don't see how they go on a run. He mentioned it today. He's trying to pull out his Aaron Rodgers cliches. He's like, I told the guys, you got to believe. He goes, it's hard to believe right now, but you got to believe because you don't win 10 in a row without starting with that one. And I'm like, 10 in a row? How about you just win one? You haven't won in a month? You haven't won in a month. What are you talking about, 10 in a row? Get out of here. Bears and Packers are going to get in the tougher part of their schedule now. Vikings have easier ones. Yeah, so I don't think the Rams are an easy game. I do think the Vikings are better than the Rams. We'll see what happens.
Especially with Cooper Kupp expected to play for the Rams.
Yeah.
That changes things a little bit, but without that big guy in the middle for the Rams, I feel a little bit better. I'm glad he retired.
Sorry, I'm telling my son we'll FaceTime.
Anytime for the Rams is so different with Aaron Donald in the middle. That guy changed games, so I'm kind of glad he's not there anymore. And I hope he's relaxing on some beach somewhere with a Mai Tai in his hands, just having a good old time.
Yeah, Aaron Donald was different. He reminds me of a light-skinned, more toned John Randall because he's undersized, but holy shit, is he strong. And you don't understand until – because I remember seeing him coming out in the draft and like, oh, that dude's strong. He's a little small, though. And then you see like, oh, no, he's absolutely bullying two full-grown men. Like, let's be real. The offensive linemen, not as toned, a little fatter, but very powerful, stout in stature men. That's what they do. They stand in the way. And he's tossing these guys. And I'm like, oh no.
But while we're talking about this, we got to talk about did you see when Khalif Raymond was stepping up to Jerry Tillery?
No, I did not see this.
Because if you're going to step up to anyone, Jerry Tillery might not be the guy.
I did see Jerry Tillery help someone up yesterday, which is very nice. Probably not who you're talking about.
No, probably not Khalif Raymond. I don't think they were friends.
Christian Ponder. I could say here. Let's do the Ponder thing real quick. I know what you're saying, Fire Breather. Ponder was a victim of what a lot of quarterbacks were. They can't help where they get drafted and what position, like not what position, what number. So Ponder was unfortunately a victim of being overdrafted. Ponder, if we look at it now, based on what he was, he's a 4th round quarterback. He is. He's a 4th to 5th round quarterback. Yeah. Being picked 12th overall, like Jake Locker was 8th that year. What were they thinking? Like, you can't reach on these guys. And I think the thing that will always be burned in my memory, and I'm a relatively new Vikings fan, but I'm in year 15 of fandom. I remember being drawn to the team for 3 players. Obviously, Favre coming over and knowing how electric he was. And he just gave you that kind of that hope, kind of like a pro wrestler, almost like, man, I think he's got one more in him. Jared Allen and Adrian Peterson. I was like fully on the Adrian Peterson train, seeing his college highlights. Jared Allen was a monster, and he had a cool personality, right? So I get over and watch this team. You start thinking, like, as you become smarter in football, and I'm tying this back to the Ponder point, but the Vikings didn't need to draft Adrian Peterson. Like you said a couple weeks ago, was it Brady Quinn? Could have easily taken him, and we would have been happy. Would that have worked out? Probably not. He didn't work out, but that would have been justified by every amount of the imagination.
Like, could you imagine if Baker Mayfield would have been like number 10 overall? He'd have been a steal.
Oh God, yeah. And he wouldn't have to deal with the shitty Browns.
Right.
Let's see. Let's look that up. Let's play a little what if game. That's 2018, I think. Draft. I think it was. Please show up. Hurry up for football. I'm using Hilton's free Wi-Fi, so I'm sorry. Yeah, Baker Mayfield, the number 10 overall. Do you remember?
No.
Josh Rosen to Arizona.
Oh boy.
Wouldn't that have changed that franchise? Because they would have gotten a different. They would have stuck with a different Oklahoma quarterback and not have gotten Kyler Murray the next year. Kyler would have went to a different team, which is crazy. Let's even go down just a little bit. Josh out like Baker Mayfield to Buffalo, or if San Francisco wanted to take him instead of Mike McGlinchey. Like, man, that's crazy. But yeah, that just proving the point about Ponder is like he's a victim of getting overdrafted, and I feel bad. He did have that. The best game of his life was the most important one he played. Like, beat the Packers, you get in the playoffs. Dude threw 3 touchdowns. I don't think he's ever had a 3-touchdown game in his career.
Sometimes the process is weird like that. Like, Jamarcus Russell wasn't a fantastic college quarterback. He was good. Yeah. But that whole process of the combine and everything just absolutely changed the opinion.
The underwear Olympics, man. It gets everybody every year.
There's no way he should have been number 1 overall.
Right.
No way. Especially if a team was doing their diligence in interviews and things like that.
But I get your point, Fire Breather. I don't think, obviously, like I probably have the most negative opinion on Teddy. I was all in on him because I saw what he did at Louisville. And then once he got to the NFL, I'm like, oh, man, he's kind of small. Then he got hurt. And then I realized, like, maybe he was just a backup that was a little overdrafted. A very good backup, but running a super old conservative offense, I don't know that he would have ran an air raid like, an old Chip Kelly offense back in the day or something like that, I feel bad for Ponder, but actually we said this the other day, and Adam will laugh because he remembers me typing in the chat. We're like, Ponder was this, but it's like, yeah, but he still gets to go home to Samantha Steele every night, so he's winning at life. And I like their story. If you don't know how they met really quick. They got married, like they just eloped or whatever and got like a contract wedding at the courthouse. And they went to Chick-fil-A for their honeymoon. And I was like, I kind of respect it.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool, just, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to do it differently. Yeah. I don't want to think about Aaron Donald versus Garrett Bradbury. That makes me sad.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Would have been nice if the Vikings drafted Aaron Donald instead of Anthony Barr. Barr was good, but I feel he gave a lot of plays. He might have. This is the same argument I have, Fire Breather, of the Vikings drafting Ponder that year at 12, and then J.J. Watt was taking 2 picks earlier at 10. Easily could have traded up to get him. That would have been a game changer for this franchise. Yeah.
I love how almost nobody had the Vikings taking Barr that year.
I remember this vividly, Adam. So I was here. I'm in Charleston. Sorry. I was in Virginia, and I went to a draft party for the ESPN affiliate, and they knew I was the only Viking fan in the area. So I got to go up while the clock goes, and you hear, all right, the Vikings are on the clock. You go up immediately and you say who you think they're going to pick. And I picked C.J. Mosley that year, but they took a different linebacker. I stayed all the way to the end, and my guy that he knew me by name when I'd call in and he'd see my number. He's like, oh, it's our resident Vikings fan, Kyle. And he's like, why are you staying around? I was like, they're going to trade back and get a quarterback. And he's like, no, they're not. I was like, I bet you they will. And I got a free swag bucket just from him because he's like, you really think that? I was like, I know they are. They need a quarterback. We're not rolling with Matt Castle.
Right.
And sure enough, they came back and traded with Baltimore to get Teddy Bridgewater. On the flip side, they should have traded with Baltimore a few years later and gotten Lamar Jackson, but they didn't do that. All the teams passed up on him too. All these what-if picks that the Vikings could have had, Kyle Hamilton, Brian Branch. I'm getting mad now. Let's not do this. Let's not do this. Who could we have had instead? No, that'll make me mad. Does it feel like a lot of teams are turning the ball over? Running the ball a lot and turning the ball over. Yes.
Yeah, defenses are catching up in a big way, whether it's ripping the ball out of people's hands or playing the pass, showing different looks and baiting quarterbacks and throwing passes. Defenses are really on the rise right now, and even with all the rules to help the offense, defenses are thriving this year.
Andrew has a good point. Every single tackle has a punch at the ball these plays, might be contributing to yards after the catch. And I'm not fully against it if there's a technique you can use to also tackle. If it negates you being able to tackle someone, that's not good. But there is a great risk reward for that because if you cause a turnover, I mean, that's a whole momentum shift in the game. So you're not wrong. I'm seeing it too. You became a fan in 2012. That's a damn good year. That's a damn good year. I will cry man tears. Well, you better get your Kleenexes out, Fire Breather, because I think it's coming. I think this is the last hurrah for Harold Harrison Smith.
Yeah, this could be his last run, which would be a huge run. And he
Damn,
will go
Jonathan,
in
you
the
are
Vikings
old.
Ring of Honor. I don't know about more than that, but he will go there.
Yeah, the minimum Ring of Honor. I think he should get looks for the Hall of Fame. I don't think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's got the same or equal numbers to Troy and another great safety. I forget who the graphic was, but they're household Hall of Fame names, and it's like you kind of got to give it to him. Like consistently, this dude played at the top for a decade and a half. So, first I remember 1974 watching Fran and his broken pinky finger scrambling like a madman. I can't imagine watching shorter, a little less athletic white Russell Wilson in the 70s running around. That's exactly who he looks like when I watch old Fran highlights. And I'm like, that must have been super annoying for those guys. Because back in the day, they'd club your head off, but they can't catch you. So literally backyard football in the NFL. That's so much fun. Yeah, we love picking on people now. I have a little bit of gray hair and I'm calling everybody old. All right, we're gonna wrap this up. I'll keep your guys' comments coming up here. Just go over some stats real quick. Sam Darnold had a good day, 22 of 27, 1-1 in touchdowns, interceptions, 103 rating. Not terrible.
Now he had a solid game. I mean, there was the one big mistake, but you can see his progression that he's learning because, like I said before, he would have thrown that ball when he was getting under pressure and something bad would have happened, but instead he knew to tuck it away, and that to me is a sign of a quarterback who's growing and learning.
I really enjoy the progression of Sam Darnold. It's going to be interesting because unless there's a fall off the cliff, we're going to be in a conundrum that you want to be in. Do you bring this guy back on a 2-year deal and pay him a little less than market value, which is probably what I would do? Or do you just fully embrace the recently injured? Not saying it's going to be a thing, but you have to at least talk about it. Do you just roll with the rookie and see what's up? I love JJ McCarthy. Fire Breather mentioned it. I watched him on the sideline yesterday. He looks 12 years old, but damn, I love his attitude. He's all about like motivational stuff on Instagram. And
I don't know if you guys watched the Michigan game last week, but boy, those announcers were really giving a lot of credit to JJ McCarthy, and it was exactly the same kind of thing that Kyle Smith did when he was watching the tape on JJ McCarthy. He said when the announcers were talking about how when McCarthy was on third down situations and needed to make something happen, he'd go out there and make it happen. They didn't put a lot of pressure on him to make plays otherwise, but when they needed something, they relied on him and he made it happen.
I think that context matters, like you said, Adam. I think if the game comes down to I need you to make a shot, like old Michael Jordan style, like, hey, I'm going to give you the ball with 8 seconds left. I need a 3-pointer out of you. If you can do that consistently, like I have faith that he'll be able to do the routine things pretty great. Unfortunately, he didn't get that chance this year, but I like seeing him on the sideline, and I love seeing the love he was giving Sam Darnold all in the month of September. Like, I remember my favorite one was he said, Sam Darnold's really good at football. And I'm like, you can't ask for a better teammate. Like, Sam knows that kid's probably going to be the future of the team. Right. It's going to come take your job eventually, but you're getting a chance to, like, finally get paid, finally get like a Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith restart somewhere. And he's just back there cheesing, like supporting the hell out of you, like being a good teammate, which I appreciate. I like you a lot, JJ. Speedy recovery to you. I hope you're absorbing everything. Aaron Jones was back, 14 carries for 93 yards and a touchdown. Very happy.
Yeah, I love that they said they were going to wake up and see how he felt that morning and see how he could go. And I was sitting playing video games with my buddy at like midnight, and I get a message on my phone. It's like, you need to add this to your Aaron Jones article. I'm like, oh, okay. And it said, he's expected to play. I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, you see that, Jonathan? I mean, it's really, really bad. I got a little patch of the brown left. I'm just glad it's not falling out. I'll keep that.
Maybe we'll get a sponsorship from Just for Men. Who knows?
We can't, though. I'm not going to use it. That's the only thing. Give me some energy drinks or something. Like, I'll use your product here. Hell, even if some shitty beer company was to give us, I'd be like, I'll act like I'm drinking a beer on here for you. Minnesota receiving. Justin Jefferson got in the end zone yesterday. I love that. 7 receptions on 8 targets for 71 yards.
Some of those catches Justin Jefferson made are not the kind that you expect people to make.
The touchdown was really good, and then the one on the sideline before, I believe it was that drive or the one before, man.
And there's one in the middle of the field that was a little high and outside, and he just like snagged it right out of the air, and that thing was flying.
He's really good. I like having him on our team. He's a lot of fun. We're only 7 weeks in, 6 games into the season, and he will eclipse 1,000 yards easily. He's already at 531. There's still God, there's still like 10 games left, I think. 5 touchdowns. He's on pace to have the most touchdowns of any season. He's living up to his paycheck, which that's all I wanted. I don't care at the end of the year what the numbers say with stats.
It's so weird. The old benchmarks like used to be like 3,000 yards passing, 1,000 yards receiving, 1,000 yards rushing, and now those are like not that big of a deal anymore.
Well, I said it last year because Madison was so bad. Like, if you just want to get 1,000 yards receiving or rushing, you just have to get 59 yards a game. It's not a lot in the grand scheme of things. He'll get past those benchmarks. I just want him to have an impact on the field, and you got to account for him, man. If you put him in man coverage, I think that's a stupid idea, and I think it shows. He did wonderful yesterday. He's doing what we need him to do. I'd like to see how the offense changes maybe Thursday night if Hawkinson comes in. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be real interesting when you have that.
Wait and see like what happens with those activations there, because both Hawkinson and Dalton Reisner could be activated and put on the roster for the game on Thursday, and that would change the perception of quite a few things. And whether it's the offensive line or how the offense works, or how easy things will be for Sam Darnold, the weapons that he has.
Right.
We'll have to wait and see.
He said brother went bald at 19. Good God. That sucks. You got to shave it then. Men, if you are hanging on to the cul-de-sac horseshoe haircut and it's back here, but it's not, you're doing the Paul Feinbaum, you're doing that for no one. Your wife hates it. We make fun of you. Just shave your head. And I don't care if you're that guy that's like, well, I have a weird shaped head. That's a weird shaped haircut. And it doesn't look good on anybody. Unless what's the guy from Anchorman, the sports guy? He kind of talks like this. His mouth goes a little that. He can pull that haircut off because he's funny. But you're not on Anchorman, and you're probably not as funny as him. So don't have that haircut, guys. I'm just doing a PSA for all of you so you can save yourself some dignity. Cooper Kupp is said to be coming back Thursday. You know what? I'm going to say it. I'm not as worried about 31-year-old Cooper Kupp anymore. I'd be more worried about Puka. Is Puka Nacua playing? That's what I would be worried about. Are their offensive linemen back, or are they all still injured? That's what I want to know, because Matthew Stafford's going to have a rude wake-up call if this defense gets after his ass with backup linemen on Thursday. I hate to – I like Matt Stafford. I'm glad he went and got his ring because I think he could go in the Hall of Fame now with that. I'm telling you, it's going to be a rough day because – he's one of the toughest guys I've seen. He's one of the last of the dying breeds of strictly pocket guys. He's going to be in for a rude awakening Thursday.
Entering the game against the Lions, the Vikings technically had the number 1 rush defense in the NFL, but that's only because Minnesota had such a lead in so many games that teams were forced to pass against them, and they weren't running the ball. I mean, now that Detroit had the opportunity to run the ball and expose a little bit of what they can do up the gut against Minnesota, I expect those rushing numbers to come back to earth a little bit, but the Vikings fans that are out there saying, number 1 run D, number 1 run D, you might want to chill on that a little bit.
It's tough from this game. I saw Detroit do the simple things really well. Somebody said it today on a podcast. They were saying they did so many crazy exotic things against Dallas, and they just did a lot of simple stuff to beat them. Beat the Vikings yesterday. I'm curious to see this match of the minds between the guy that coached under McVay and who they called tall Sean McVay. Not having Aaron Donald sucks. Having Puka out, maybe getting Kupp back is good. And the offensive line has just been riddled. I'm interested to see. And the Cam Akers just came from there, so any little tricks that he might have, he can let us know. But it'll be a fun game. I don't think this will be a blowout by any means, but I think the Vikings should have the edge. They are a better team, but it's a short week, man. You're coming off a loss. I just hope that everyone stays healthy, and if they just have one more point than the other team, I will be happy.
I got a feeling that Minnesota's going to come out hungry for this one. They're going to be a little beat up, but they're going to be hungry.
I'm telling you, dude, looking back on it now, emotions aside, they should have won the game yesterday. They had every opportunity to. Couple miscues. I understand that Detroit had a lot of penalties. So did the Vikings had a couple, but there's a couple of plays here or there that win. And that's how tight this division race is going to be. My new thing that I'm going through and saying, and just having a conversation out loud today with myself is, if I'm a coach, my philosophy is simple. You have 2 goals every year, and it starts at a baseline here. You must win. We must win every home game. If you win every home game, that guarantees two things. One, you're going to finish the season about 500 now, and you're going to be 500 in the division. You're already set up for at least 50 to 60% success to go to the postseason that way.
Right.
And then obviously the second to be win the division. If you win all of your home games, well, that means you beat every division opponent at home. Can you go grind one out on the road 3 times? This is what it comes down to. And I think Detroit had it in their brain to say, like, we won it last year. We almost went to the Super Bowl last year. Like, this is our division. You got to come take it from us. And, the Vikings won it the year before. Whatever. This is going to be an interesting development over the next couple of years of who drafts better, who has the edge. Right now I give the edge to Detroit, but I'm very happy and pleased with this Vikings team. And I think they're overachieving. I think Detroit is as advertised as what we thought. Like, one of the rare times where you're like, that team was really good last year. I think they're going to be even better this year. And it actually is working. Nobody gave the Vikings, me included. I was like,
nobody except Nick Swartzen had the team doing this well.
Oh, goofy ass Nick Swartzen. He's an oddball. Nobody had this Vikings team being 5-1 and doing like they're overachieving, but I don't think they're overachieving in the way that they're not as good as their record. I think that they just weren't valuing the quarterback as much. We knew the rest of the team was good. You and I and Adam and all of our fans knew, like, these underrated defensive signings are about to be real good. Like, we looked at Andrew.
I tried hyping you guys up about that during the offseason.
We saw it with like the Van Ginkel trade. I said it. I remember being on record saying, I like this Van Ginkel signing. Like, I'm looking at his PFF grade and like, he's top 10 and getting pressure. Like,
and I was telling you, Flores is out there getting his guys.
I like it, man. Yeah, you're right. I agree with you, Adam. I think this is not a get right game, but I think the players are going to want to keep it going because I feel.
But how do you feel about the Vikings fans right now? They're all doom and gloom over the one loss.
I get over it like I did. Treat it like a fart. It stinks like 5 minutes and then it's gone. It is what it is.
Do you ever hang on the comments of like when they do the interviews after the game on the official like Facebook stuff, and you go in the comments and see all the really, really wild.
No, because every fan is like, fire KOC, trade Justin Jefferson. Like, immediately after loss, that's what they all say, and it's like, guys, right. I'm emotional and I'm out of line, and I'm nowhere near the level that you're at right now. Like, it sucks. That just tells you how starved this fan base is for consistent winning in a championship. Because whenever they lose, they're like, it's immediate PTSD. They're like, help, we suck again. We started the show off with that. This is the very first comment of the day.
Oh no,
we suck again.
Oh no, disaster.
Oh man. All right, guys. I think that's about it. We'll keep you updated. Maybe we'll do a pod on Friday after, if the guys want to do the day after the game. But there's a Thursday night football game in Los Angeles. Vikings Rams. The Vikings will continue their NFC West quest. They beat the Niners. We thought we were the best in the division. They still got a couple more of the NFC West teams, but NFC West matchup against the Vikings in LA Thursday night, 8:20. And then, as we said earlier in the show, just for a note, Sunday night football next week has been flexed. The Vikings were playing at 1, but now they are the Sunday night game hosting the Indianapolis Colts. So a little bit of news today pertaining to our beloved team.
Absolutely.
That's all I got. Before we do any promotions here, if you guys liked it, while we still have some of you in here, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. Like and subscribe to the Facebook page. If you go on YouTube, like I mentioned just a second ago, and you hit that notification bell, I am the de facto creator guy. I create every show and schedule it. When you put that notification bell on, we'll send you a notification either on Facebook, however you consume it. Hey, we're going live tonight so you don't miss it. The thing that I always reiterate as one of the hosts on the show to tell you is you guys have commented tonight like 50 or so comments. There's only been like 10 people watching. You guys keep it going. You guys don't realize you police yourselves and you community yourselves here. And you make mine and Adam, and when Kyle's here, his job so much easier because you give us something to talk about. Like Fire Breather gave me like 12 points to talk about today. He doesn't come in on every show.
Your comments help our show show up in other people's news feeds. So
yeah, we
really appreciate all that.
Yeah, Fire Breather doesn't show up every show, but he has, when he does, I know he gets spirited. He talks about a lot of stuff, right? We love that.
We show up, give passionate Vikings fans here with us. That's amazing.
Yeah, we appreciate all your input is what I'm trying to say. I'm going long-winded, but Fire Breather, Sergio, Wes, Andrew, Kathy was in earlier. Like, we just appreciate the hell out of y'all. We got a small community here, but man, you guys rule. So thank y'all.
I am having a fantastic month over at the Viking Age, and it could be even better because right now I have met my minimum for the month, and I could hit even better numbers. If you go over and click on one of my articles, I would greatly appreciate it. My winners and losers went up this morning, and I feel like it was a hard game to talk about, and I am not sure I want to talk about it much more, so I'm kind of glad it's a short week.
That's fair.
Start moving on and talking about a little bit more of that Rams stuff going on.
It stinks, man. It's a division opponent. You know they're good. You want to beat the good teams. You beat a bunch of good teams so far, but I'm glad it wasn't that dog walking they gave the Cowboys. God, if it was a 48-9 or whatever it was, I don't know that I would have done the show today. I'm like, I need a day. I need another day to not think about this.
Right.
Adam Carlson, you are on social media at MN Vikings.
I am, and is Twitter X dead now, like officially?
I use it a lot. I know some people don't like it that Elon took it over. I appreciate his attempt to.
I know artists just did a mass exodus from it, like last week when they announced that any photo you upload will be shared with AI to generate more photos. So, yeah, you might want to be careful with that.
Good thing I don't post any photos of myself there. Damn, I don't like that. I really don't like that.
Most graphic artists now have left X, and I don't know. I post stuff that I think will get some interaction or at least get someone to talk, and I never get anything. So I'm assuming it's dead.
We got to get some more hashtags for you on there. I want to get more views. I like Adam's dry humor, and it makes me laugh because that's my wheelhouse.
Well,
but I'm not surprised.
Discussion about the NBA tip-off for the new season is tomorrow, I believe. So I was trying to get a feeling of how people were feeling about the Timberwolves this year, and not a single interaction.
Well, I appreciate what you put on there because we both come from a office Parks and Rec background, and I just love that humor. Go give Adam a follow, damn it. If you want to follow Kyle West, he's at Vaguely Square. He prefers Blue Sky. I don't know much about Blue Sky, but he is on there and he loves it. He says a lot about it.
Followers and the numbers might be smaller on Blue Sky, but the interaction is through the roof.
Nice. I might
prefer the interaction to the followers and all that. Blue Sky is probably where it's at right now.
I might give into it and try it. That sounds like fun. Yeah, we put this up earlier. KyleWest84.pickfair.com. Go check out his photography work and support small artists, local artists. And for me, I'm at NC Dog Dude on the Instagram and Twitter machine, and you can follow me there if you so choose.
What do you want people to talk about with you on there?
Well, I do a lot of stuff with my son, music, dogs, the Vikings. I keep it there on Twitter. I'm an MMA and a Vikings guy. On Instagram, it's more music and fun, goofy.
What about like different types of gravy? Do you like talking about gravy?
I mean, I'm willing to talk about gravy. I am. I got to run because my son wants to FaceTime, but I will say tomorrow on Adam's YouTube channel, he and I will figure out a time. We're going to review the movie Deer Camp 86. So tune in for that. I am ready.
Yeah. So in the meantime, stick around. We'll be talking about more Vikings news and hopefully that game against the Rams. I don't know when it will be, whether we're going to try to go on Friday or whether it's going to be later in the week or, normal like Monday-ish. I don't know. But either way, watch for us to schedule that, and we will be talking about that game. And I don't know if it'll be all three of us, but we'll do what we can.
We'll try to get West in here. Yeah, we'll try to get him in there since he missed today.
But yeah, thanks again for joining us. And in the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.